Hey everyone, good afternoon. Today is the 5th of November 2023, and welcome once again to another short video installment courtesy of investingsuccess.ca. For those of you that have been following me for some time, you will know that I follow, or I'm a big fan of the work of Louise McWhirter, who reportedly was an astrologer in the 1930s. There is some question as to whether or not she really existed. Some people speculate that the name Louise McWhirter may have just been a pen name for somebody else who was trying to conceal his identity. Because back in those days, if you were caught on the streets of New York telling fortunes, reading palms, using astrology, that technically was an offense that could land you temporarily in jail. So there is, as I say, speculation that the name Louise McWhirter is a cover for somebody else. Nevertheless, in 1937, the book was published, and the book highlights the importance of watching the movement of the moon through the signs of the zodiac in a typical lunar month. And the book also alludes to other planets passing key points in the natal first trade IPO horoscope of individual stocks or individual indexes. What I want to do in this short video today is focus on the NASDAQ 100, and I'm going to do so through the lens of the fact that the NASDAQ exchange itself was founded on the 8th of February 1971. So what I'm going to show you in this video is the planetary placements, February 1971, and then we're going to look at a chart of the NASDAQ in 2023 year to date, and I'm going to show you how the movements of the planets here and now align to planetary positions in the 1971 horoscope. And I'm going to show you and impress upon you the fact that these planetary alignments correspond then to swing highs and swing lows on the NASDAQ price chart. So here now is the February 8th, 1971 natal horoscope for the NASDAQ exchange. And you can see that the midheaven is at 10 degrees of Capricorn. You can see that the ascendant is at 19 degrees of Aries. The other thing I look for in any first trade natal horoscope is evidence of geometric patterns. And you can see that we have got triangles. There's one I have outlined in blue and one that I have outlined in green. Now these triangles have corner points. They share in common a corner point of Mercury. They share in common a corner point of Moon. And then the green triangle has a corner point of Pluto. The blue triangle has a corner point of Neptune. So what I'm going to be looking for then as I analyze NASDAQ is certainly the movement of Moon in a lunar cycle passing these corner points, but I'm also going to be looking for the movement of Sun and Mars relative to these corner points. I will further be looking for the movement of Sun, Mars, and Moon relative to the ascendant point at 19 Aries and the midheaven point at 10 Capricorn. Now, I'm not going to bore you by rotating the horoscope wheel and flipping through it. Here's what I've done for you. Here's a chart, the E-mini NASDAQ, and I have done this for 2023 year to date. As I studied the chart, I identified what I felt were swing points, and I've labeled them. So here's point A, B, C, D, E. And then the market had a tremendous rally all the way up to point F in July of this year. Declined to point G, rallied again to H, declined to point I, rallied to point J, declined to point K, and last week, as we are all aware, the NASDAQ staged a little counter trend rally. Now, let's look at these various points A through K in turn. So coming into 2023, the NASDAQ made a very important low. So what was happening there? The sun was passing the 1971 natal mid-heaven point at 10 of Capricorn. At point B, after the NASDAQ rallied sizably, the sun was within 5 degrees of the natal sun point, and the moon was at natal moon. So when something is within 5 degrees, that is what we say within orb. You might as well say that the sun was at the natal sun. Okay, that's what caused the sudden stop of the rally at point B, and it led to a decline, which culminated at point C. Why did it stop at point C? Why didn't the sell-off continue? Well, at point C, we had Moon at the natal Neptune point, and we had Jupiter that was within 5 degrees of that natal ascendant point at 19 of Aries. And that was enough then to halt the sell-off and start the price moving higher. At point D, we actually had Sun and Jupiter right at the natal ascendant, and we had Moon at the natal moon. There was a very brief, almost a sideways consolidation, and at point E, we had Moon at natal moon. But really, if you think about it, this entire movement from point C all the way to point F was triggered by Jupiter passing by that natal ascendant point. Jupiter is that expansive planet, that positive planet, and that's exactly what unfolded. Now at point F, the rally stopped. The moon was at the natal moon, and the sun was within 5 degrees of the natal moon point. NASDAQ then declined down to point G. Why did it stop there? Well, that was a Fibonacci 23.6% retrace of this overall move from A to F. Also, you had Moon and Mars that were within 5 degrees of the natal Pluto point. And recall that Pluto is one of the corner points in one of those triangles that I identified in the natal horoscope. And for those of you that have perhaps watched some of my earlier videos or taken one of my Udemy courses, I am a big believer in as above, so below. The spatial distribution of the planets in our cosmos actually follows very closely the Fibonacci sequence. And so it is not ever surprising to me to see price action reach a top or a bottom and then retrace some of what it had gained or lost. And the retracement is almost exclusively one of the Fibonacci retracement levels. Now, from point G, the market rallied a little bit to point H. So at point H, the moon was at the natal ascendant. And point G was actually a 61.8, point H was a 61.8% retracement of the down move F through G. Point H also came right smack in the middle of a Mercury retrograde period, and strange things can happen during Mercury retrograde. So after point H, the markets again fell down to point I, and that was basically a 100% give back of the move G through H. Point I was also a new moon, but more importantly, you had Sun passing that natal Pluto point. Market then rallied very briefly to point J, and this little rally was a 78.6% retrace of the move from H down to I. After point J, the market weakened again, and it fell down to point K. So point K was actually a Fibonacci 38.2% retracement of the overall move from A through to F. And now, most recently, we've had a little rally. But look very carefully at the chart. I've got a red dashed line overlaid on the chart, and the slope of that line is to the downside. Point H failed to match or exceed point F. Point J failed to match or exceed point H. And now the question is, this little rally that we've had in the past week, is it going to fail to match or exceed point J? So if WD Gann was here with me right now, WD Gann would look at this chart and he would say, whoa, hands off. When you see these swing points failing to take out a prior pivot point, WD Gann would tell you that's a problem. So we are in danger here of having a downtrend take hold of this NASDAQ market. You would never know it last week, given the talking heads in the media foaming at the mouth, but this is not a constructive chart. We have got to take out point J if the NASDAQ is going to move higher and be more constructive. So the next several days, the next week and a bit, is absolutely critical to what happens in the future with NASDAQ. So that's basically how I analyze and dissect an index, an individual stock chart. I look for planets passing key points in the natal horoscope. I look for moon passing key points. I look for things like Mercury retrograde. I look for retracements that follow the Fibonacci mathematics, 23.6, 38.2, 48.6, 61.8, 78.6. And all of this ties together. And you can piece together quite a compelling narrative. And then the one thing I haven't showed you on here is I always overlay the chart with a technical trend indicator. And my favorite one is the True Strength Index, although you could use a slow stochastic, a fast stochastic. Pick the one that you want. And if I see that trend indicator failing to deliver a bullish signal, I am very, very cautious. And right now on NASDAQ, I am very, very cautious, despite what has happened in the past week. All right. I'm going to wrap it up here. The good news is Financial Astrology Almanac 2024 is now in its final edits. And I hope to have that out into the world certainly by the end of November. And you'll notice that the color on this year's edition is a wonderful emerald green. You can find me, of course, on investingsuccess.ca. People subscribe to my astrology letter, my cycles report. You can find me on Substack. And there's a very minor cost to access my Substack articles. My full-blown courses are on udemy.com. And of course, the most recent book was Follow the Trend, When to Buy, When to Sell. And that's it. Thank you kindly for watching this brief little video and learning and sharpening your skills as to how to dissect the price action of an index or an individual stock using some very basic astrology. Have a wonderful day. Have a fantastic week. And we will talk real soon. Thank you.